All right, I am with our guest this week. I'm very excited to talk to him. Representative out of North Dakota, Jim Kasper. You are on the floor right now. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Hey, Chad. Yes, in North Dakota, our office is our desk on the floor of the house. We do not have private offices. So right here, it's about 3.5 feet wide and maybe 2.5 feet deep, and a microphone, and that's it. That's where we do our work, and that's all good because we're a part-time legislature in North Dakota every other year for a maximum of 80 days.
Well, it's very cool. Certainly unique to us here at PokerNews, and the reason we're talking to you is poker. You made some headlines recently because you are seeking to introduce some legislation that might put a constitutional amendment on the general ballot in 2022, and it's for online poker. So as soon as I read that, I reached out. I knew I wanted to talk to you because as a poker guy myself, we're excited by this sort of thing. And I learned that you're a poker guy as well, correct?
Well, yeah, I played poker as a kid in my hometown in western North Dakota. It's a little town called Beulah, where it's the coal mine, lignite capital of the world, and played with my uncles and my dad. And then, they give my brother and me like $5 to start. And when we lost our money, we were out of the game. And I loved it. And then I hadn't played poker for maybe 30 years. And lo and behold, in 2003, I watched Chris Moneymaker win the World Series of Poker. And obviously he told his story about he qualified online. And I said, we have an Indian casino nearby where my wife and I have a lake home over in western Minnesota. I live in Fargo, North Dakota, which is on the border of North Dakota and Minnesota. So I said, I wonder if they play poker over there. So I drove over to the casino, and sure enough, they had a poker room, and that's how I started playing Texas Hold'em in 2003.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Playing ever since.
We call it the money maker boom. He certainly brought a lot of people into the game, and it wasn't too long after that this isn't your first attempt at trying to get some online poker legislation passed in North Dakota. You tried in 2005, right amid what we call the poker boom, and that didn't come to fruition, but there was a lot of eyes on it. What can you share with us about what that bill was all about and kind of the reception to it back in 2015?
2005.
Or 2005, my bad. Yeah.
Well, I going to play poker at the casino where I was at, the Card Player magazine was on the shelf, and they sent their magazines all over the place, published by the Schulman family out of Las Vegas. And I began picking it up and reading it. I was devouring everything I could about poker. And I read an article by Roy Cook, their featured writer. And he wrote in the article, he doesn't know why a state in the United States doesn't license and regulate internet poker companies because they want to be located in the United States. So I called him up. Being a legislator, I was elected in 2000, so I was in the legislature now 5 years and 4 years. And I talked to him, and he told me all about the story, and he introduced me to some of the legal beagles that he knew. I think it's Mark Owens, but I can't say for sure. But some of the people that he knew, and I said, okay, I'm going to draft a bill. And so I introduced the bill in 2005 to license, regulate, and tax internet poker companies if they relocated their operation to North Dakota. And I would not be involved with them if they stayed in Antigua, or if they stayed in Montreal, or they stayed in Europe, or wherever they were at. And I got the bill passed in the House with no poker individuals coming to North Dakota. They were watching, and then all of a sudden, everybody got excited. And so I ended up inviting everybody who wanted to come to testify in the Senate, because you have to pass the bill in both the House and the Senate. And put people like Alan Jaffrey Schulman, the wife and owner of with Barry of Card Player magazine. She's an attorney an expert attorney on gaming, and Pat O'Brien, attorney down in Florida, and I believe at the time he was representing Poker Stars. And then Frank Catania, the former assistant attorney general from New Jersey, came, and a representative of Party Gaming from Israel, an attorney, came. Greg Raymer, who had just won the 2005 or 2004 World Series of Poker came, and he was born in Minot, North Dakota, believe it or not. And a bunch of other people, Sue Schneider, who you may know over the years. I'm trying to remember some of the names, but they all came and we put on a really good show. We had a poker night for the legislature and set up the internet poker TVs or computers, just like we're talking now. Showed them how to play the game. We actually then had a 10 person Hold'em tournament. And I was, of course, being I sponsored the thing, I was at the table. And I knocked Greg Raymer out of the tournament. And it ended up Alan Jaffrey Schulman and I were the final two. And she went all in on a hand that I had the better hand, but she lucked out on the flop. and so she ended up winning. I took second in that 10 person tournament. And then, we went to the Senate, and those folks were here, and they gave great testimony. But our Attorney General did not like the fact that we were sponsoring an internet game. And he asked the Department of Justice to review my bill and give him some ammunition to kill it. And they wrote him back a poison pen letter. And I've got a copy of the letter. It's 1.5 pages, very short. And it said, dear Attorney General, in reviewing Representative Kasper's bill, we believe it might be illegal under the 1961 Wire Act. And of course, there was no internet available in 1961. As you know, the Wire Act applied to sports betting on the telephone, sports betting alone, and poker is not sports betting. But it was enough to create doubt in the senators, and so my bill was defeated in the Senate, but we came close. And my bill required, and Nigel Payne, I forgot to mention him, Nigel Payne, at the time chairman of a sporting bet out of London, flew from London. And the estimate of the revenue that would be generated for the state of North Dakota back then was about $500 million a year, and it was a very low tax structure. But as you know, the game was really big back then.
Right. Well,
and my bill said 80% of the revenue would go to the people in North Dakota to reduce their property taxes. And so the people in North Dakota lost a lot of money.
Yeah, they certainly did. And times have certainly changed, both in poker. The game isn't as popular as it was in 2005, but it is still quite popular. But from a legal standpoint, it's changed quite a bit. We've got online poker now in 5 different states. Back then, it wasn't in any. And we recently had a ruling on the Wire Act saying that it only applies to sports betting, which, for those of us in the industry, believe will help pave the way for more states to explore the idea of online poker like yourself. Right. So it would seem that with this new bill that you've introduced, I think it was Concurrent Resolution 3012, that the Wire Act wouldn't be a concern right now.
No, it wouldn't be. Of course, the big hurdle is to get the House and Senate to vote, because the bill requires to amend the North Dakota Constitution. And I believe if I can get the House and Senate to put it on the ballot, I think the people will pass it. But there's still a pretty powerful lobby here in North Dakota against expansion of gaming. The fact is, you and I both know that people are playing on the internet, all kinds of things. Sports betting is really big. I'm working on another bill right now to bring sports betting to North Dakota. And in fact, I meet with the Attorney General's office tomorrow to have a discussion there. But it's people are gambling more and more, and people in North Dakota ought to have the opportunity, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And so how would this work? You've introduced this resolution. So you're going to present it to the House and the Senate, and if it passes both, then in 2022, if I understand, it would go to the people of North Dakota, to the general election ballot. Is that kind of how it would work?
Yeah, that's correct. It would go on the ballot, and because it's a constitutional amendment, it requires the people to vote by a 50% plus one vote, and then it would amend the Constitution to allow internet poker in the state of North Dakota. And then, of course, we'd have to set up the regulatory apparatus and all those things, which at first you need the vote, but right. It wouldn't be that hard to set it up.
Yeah, and you certainly got a framework with a lot of these other states who have, kind of laid the groundwork, as opposed to, back in 2005, where you would have been the first to it. So realistically, then it's looking, if all goes well, you know, it'd be 2022 before it's on the ballot. Then you would be looking at some time frame to set up that infrastructure and the plan. So, you know, realistically, it would be several years down the road, maybe 5 years down the road or such, if everything goes smooth, that we might see online poker in North Dakota. Does that sound accurate?
Most likely be sometime in 2023, because
Right.
we'll be back in session in 2023, and you know, it won't take that much work. I'll have done some work between then and, or between now and then, to work with the poker industry and find out the type of regulatory apparatus that we're going to need to properly regulate and make sure it's a fair game. And I'm sure since 2005 in the Wild West days, I'm sure there's a lot more oversight ability now than there was back then. I won't get into some of those things. I'm sure you know about them as well as I do.
Is there anything that poker players can do to help support this? I guess we'd break it into two things. Is there anything that poker players inside North Dakota who might be listening, anything that they can do given it's their state? And then likewise, is there anything that the larger poker community throughout the United States can do to kind of help support it?
The poker community in North Dakota, it would be very helpful if they send emails to their in North Dakota, we have 1 senator and 2 House members, and we're broken down into 47 legislative districts. And they should send emails to their representatives in their district. And if they know any other legislators, we have 94 members of the House and 47 members of the Senate. Flood them with emails in their own words why we should pass the bill. And then as far as the poker industry is concerned, I'd sort of like to get my head together with you and see where the organizations out there would be able to assist, because obviously I don't have a budget for it. I just have the idea. And so if there's ways that they could come and help and maybe even testify in front of a committee, that would be fantastic. But we'd have to sort of get it put together pretty quick.
Well, I certainly think that could happen. I know that a lot of people, myself included, and others that I know would be happy to support it. You know, you're going to be a little bit of a hero in the poker community. We don't have a lot of politicians fighting for something we so strongly believe in. And so, you know, on behalf of PokerNews, behalf of, you know, the poker community, I'll say thank you. I think it's fantastic. That's why I wanted to reach out to you, and I would definitely show my support in any way I can and connect you with anybody that might be willing to help as well.
Well, certainly. And you have my contact information, Chad, so feel free to share it with folks out there. Best way to get a hold of me is my email address or my cell phone. Many times I can't answer the phone because I'm in committee or on the floor of the House or, you know, in a meeting, but a voicemail is there or an email. I return both. And I'd like to be able to get in contact with some people that might be willing to come to North Dakota in the next couple of weeks.